All right, this video is going to be on, I know it says perimeter, but we're just going to be doing the area of trapezoids, rhombi, and kites. So first of all, talking about the area of a trapezoid, we need to understand that the height of a trapezoid is the perpendicular distance between the bases. So if we see here, again, perpendicular, meaning 90 degrees, this is something we have to understand. The distance between your two bases, okay, which we talked about, these would be our legs, these would be our bases. When we are perpendicular, this becomes our height. Okay, the area of a trapezoid is a product of 1/2 of the height times the sum of the lengths of the bases. Words, 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 words. We're going to take the two bases, we're going to add them together. We're then going to multiply it by the height, and then take half of that. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Here, number one, area of the trapezoid. I'm going to go ahead and write out this formula. We've got base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. I don't care which one's base 1 and base 2 since we are adding. Okay, so we can just do base 1 and base 2, and here we have our height. So plugging in, we've got base 1 of 32 plus base 2 of 18, all multiplied by that height of 16 divided by 2. Now a couple options. We can go ahead and just plug everything in. We can solve the numerator. I'm going to go ahead and go back through and talk about if we are doing multiplication, we can go ahead and divide this 16 by 2 now. So now all we have to do is multiply by 8. So then the denominator is gone. Okay, we just have left the 32, I'm going to do two birds, one stone. 32 plus 18 is going to give us 50 times that 8 that's left over. And we end up with 400 feet. We are still doing area. Area is two-dimensional, so we have an exponent of 2, 400 feet squared. Next, we need to notice here the parallel sides are the bases. That is one of the properties of your trapezoid. So here, this is going to be a base, and this is going to be a base. Perpendicular. Your height does not have to be drawn inside of your trapezoid. Find the perpendicular line that's between the two bases. This is going to be your height. So plugging in, we have our base 1, 12, plus your base 2, 24, times that height of 28, all divided by 2. Again, if you would like to go ahead and cancel this, cancel the denominator by saying, okay, 28 divided by 2 is going to give me now a 14. I can add those together, the 12 plus the 24 to get 36. Okay, it's just adding these together. And then that will be now times that 14, and there is no more 2 in the denominator. Again, you can go ahead and just do everything in the numerator and then divide by 2 in the end if you would like to as well, remembering your order of operations. So here your area, 36 times 14, is going to give you 504. We have yards as our unit, and area, again, yards squared. All right, next one, straightforward. Here are your bases. Here is your height. Let's go ahead and plug in. We have base 1, 32, plus base 2, 50, times that height of 20, all divided by 2. Okay? So now I want to show you that way that we can do this if we are not going to cancel out like we did with these other two. So if we go step by step here, we'll go ahead and add these. We'll have our area is going to be 32 plus 50 gives us 82 times 20 divided by 2. I'm just showing you the baby steps. Then if we take that 82 times 20, we're going to end up with 1,640 divided by 2, bringing us down to, once we divide, your area is equal to 820. Our units are meters, so we'd have meters squared. So you have different options. Obviously, you know, some are quicker than the other, okay, but it's all what you're preferring. All right, so next, what's geometry without having to work backwards? Here, we're told that we have base lengths of 12.8 and 20. So here's your 12.8 and your 20. And we have an area of 164 feet squared. So A, your area is 164. we're going to be looking for the height. So we're going to have this x. You can use x, you can use h for height, whichever one you want. So now in our formula, we have the area. So we have 164 equals. In our numerator, we have base 1 plus base 2. So we have 12.8. Oops, sorry about that. 12.8 plus the 20, all times h, because we don't know what that is. Now, watch what we can do. We've done this before. We have the 2 in the denominator, and we have to multiply both sides, but we actually don't need to do that. Okay, if we take this 12.8 and this 20 and we add them together, let's bring that down. Let's take that step. We have 164 equals. Right here, we're going to wind up with 32.8 times h, or x, divided by 2. Well, instead of, I mean, you can do it multiplying both sides as well if you want, or you can just go ahead and divide this out. And if we go ahead and divide that out, we're going to wind up with, move it over here, 164 equals 32.8 is going to wind up being 16.4 h, and then we simply divide both sides by what's attached to our variable, that coefficient, 16.4. Decimal kind of makes it look a little confusing, but our height ends up being 10 feet. So we're supposed to say 10. We've got to make it look a little prettier than that. 10 feet is our height. Okay. Now let's look at the rhombi and kite. The great thing about rhombi and kites is they have the exact same formula. Okay, we're going to be dealing with diagonals. So the areas of the rhombi and kites are related to their diagonals. The area is 1/2 of the product of these diagonals. So, like I said, we're going to multiply both diagonals and then divide by 2. It's just going to be from angle to the opposite angle. That's going to be your diagonal. So the one thing you have to be careful with is a lot of times they're only going to give you half the diagonal. So in this example right here, we're given that this is 10. Well, we can see barely, but we can see these two congruent markings here, meaning the entire diagonal is actually 20. This entire diagonal is 24. So these are the two that we're going to use. Again, with multiplication, it does not matter which order you go in, which one's diagonal 1, which one's diagonal 2. I do not care. So your area being diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 over 2. We're going to bring this down. We're going to have that 20 times the 24 divided by 2. If we want to just take care of the numerator, then divide, we're going to wind up with, let me do it underneath, your area equaling 20 divided by divided by 24 is going to be 480 divided by 2. And then that in turn is going to be dividing. We're going to wind up with 240. We are still doing with area, so we have feet squared. And I'll show you again about the canceling out, getting rid of the dividing by the 2 prior to multiplying here in this next one. All right, so here I'm noticing that I've got half my diagonals here, so I need to remember we're going to double. So this becomes 40. And this becomes 20. So there are 2 diagonals. So your area will simply be the 40 times that 20 divided by 2. If you want to go ahead and divide by the 2, this 20 divided by 2 is going to give you 10. So now you just have your area, and I'll rewrite it so you can see a little bit better. Your area is going to be equal to 40 times that 10, area being 400. We're dealing with centimeters squared because we do have area. All right, so let's take a look at this kite here. Okay, we've got our diagonals. Now with the rhombi, a lot of times they're going to give you half the diagonal. With the kites, there's only one that's bisected. Okay, and that's going to be the cross diagonal right here. But here we're given both of these, so let's go ahead and use the same exact example. We've got diagonal 1. Again, it doesn't matter which one. But we have our 2 diagonals, 18 and 12, all divided by 2. If you'd like to go ahead, cancel one of these out. So now all we're going to have is 6 times the 18. We're going to find that our area is equal to 108. We're dealing with centimeters and squared. Last one. So now they've given all 4 of these different parts. We can see that here's our cross diagonal. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are adding these together to get 48. And then we need to add the other 2 parts together to get ourselves 28. So these are going to be the diagonals that we're using. Plug back into our formula, diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Doesn't matter which one is which, so we have 28 times the 48. And then divide by 2. We want to go ahead and cancel out. We can turn this into a 28 times now 24, bringing us down to nothing in the denominator, so we have 28 times 24. And when we multiply these, our area will come out to 672. We're dealing with feet, so we have feet squared. Please ask your teacher if you have any questions, or you can search YouTube area of kites, area of rhombi, area, or your area of trapezoids.